I have gone to the Mount Sinai tent for, I guess, 7 years. Originally, it was kind of my only form of skin care because I didn't have a dermatologist. So every summer, my siblings and I and my mom, we would all wait in line, and there was actually not usually a line, but we would get our screenings at the tent for the last 7 years.
At one point, you found out you actually had something.
Yes, I usually was pretty cocky when I would go into the tent, expecting compliments on my skin because I started going to the tent when I was 27. And so I thought they would find nothing. And last year I was 5 months pregnant. And so I thought, moles get weird when you're pregnant. But when I went in, they found something on my neck. And I thought, oh, is it a big deal? Is this something I need to treat immediately? And the doctor says, this is something you need to see immediately. When you go back to Seattle, go to a doctor and get this taken care of. So after the screening, 2 days later, I went to my doctor in Seattle who did a punch test, and they tested it. And then they had me come back a week later and said, it came back positive for precancer, so we need to take more. And they did, because I was pregnant, I couldn't do the full surgery, so I had to be awake and listen to it, but they carved out a football-shaped part of my neck and sent the dysplastic nevus to a clinic and said that it was okay. At that point, they had taken enough, but it was a rather large chunk of my neck from a tiny little mole that I would not have known about without that screening.
And what did the doctor tell you about that mole? They said there's something there. Did they see discoloration?
They said it was shaped funny. The doctor noticed that, and it was a tiny little dot on my neck that I thought it had maybe grown with the pregnancy, but they did such a thorough search. They looked in my hair, they looked everywhere. And to see this one little dot, he immediately zeroed in on it and said, you need to get this taken care of. It's shaped funny. I can't diagnose it exactly what it is. You have to have a biopsy done. And I had mentioned to him, I said, but I live in Seattle. It's cloudy all the time. And he said, that means nothing. You have to wear sunblock when there's clouds out. And especially growing up at high altitude in Aspen, Colorado, every summer of my life, every winter of my life skiing, and being so fair, I thought I wore enough sun protection, but I now know from having gone to these screenings that I am at a higher risk because I grew up in high altitude and because I have the skin type that I have to get checked every 6 months rather than every year.
Wow, that's amazing. So you still go to a doctor every 6 months in Seattle?
I do. I now go to my dermatologist, sometimes even more frequently if I start to get worried about a mole. And my dermatologist in Seattle said, thank God you caught this, because I wouldn't have seen him for another year if I hadn't known to go in.
Terrific. And what's your message for other people? You're at the festival, you're meeting people. What do you tell them?
It's fun. The doctors are really nice, and it's the easiest process ever. It's faster than a manicure, and you get to find out about your body, and it's judgment-free. I was worried because I was 5 months pregnant and, in a little gown, worried someone was going to look at parts of my body that hadn't seen the sun, I thought, in a while. But we look forward to it as a family. We look forward to going to the tent. We all plan it as, okay, between lunch, let's get our hot dog and then let's go and check our moles. And it was so important to me, especially as a new mom, to not take for granted my health and my skin, to not go in there and just expect them to say, oh, you have rosy cheeks, that's great. But to get a thorough examination in the time it would take to get a hot dog is, it's such a benefit. And I think it's the only screening that my siblings get during the year. I'm the only one they found something on, but we've now become far more vigilant about skincare, and the actual process itself is so easy.
I'm just curious, if you hadn't come for that screening here and they hadn't found something, would you have gone back to your doctor? Was it?
No, I would not have gone to my dermatologist on my own for a mole screening unless I had Mount Sinai. here in their tent. I had no reason to think that I needed to go to a dermatologist. I felt I'm fairly young. My skin feels fine. And I live in Seattle, so why would I need to go to a dermatologist except for cosmetic reasons? I had never even considered. I was shocked when they found something because I had taken for granted that I was going to be fine.
So are you grateful that the service was actually here?
I am grateful that the service was here. Without this service, I would not have known while I was pregnant that I had a precancerous mole right smack dab in the middle of my neck. And I would not have gotten it taken care of. The problem would have exacerbated, and I would be dealing with it now as opposed to when it was easy to get off.